Hello everyone, this is Victoria and today I'm doing a special edition reading about a lunar eclipse in Pisces that is happening today, right now, as we speak. I normally do this a little bit in advance, but this is just how things worked out, and right now I very much trust in the flow, in the divine guidance, so you're receiving this exactly at the moment when it's meant to be delivered to you. And we will follow my latest spread for this kind of events. We'll do 3 themes of the eclipse with the Enchanted Map Oracle. And then I will go with tarot and I'll give guidance for each of the zodiac signs for what this eclipse means to you, how to unpack it, what to pay attention to, how can you leverage this very, very powerful, potent, strong energy during this time. And I do have a different deck for this. This is the Druid Tarot. It is, let's just say I'm lending it from someone else. So it's gonna be a new deck. I'm excited to see what's gonna be like. This is gonna be the first reading that I'm doing with it. So let's find out. Okay, with all that said, I am gonna get started. The messages that I'm gonna be doing are gonna be for Sun, Moon, and Rising sign. If you can't watch all 3, I highly recommend watching message for your moon sign because we're talking about full moon and lunar eclipse. These events are happening together. Lunar eclipses always happen at the full moon. They also open the gate to the eclipse season, so-called season, right? Because 2 weeks later, there will be a solar eclipse. This is a full lunar eclipse in Pisces. Of course, I will include the timestamps for each of the zodiac signs, so it's going to be easy for you to find it. The themes, I highly recommend not to skip, not to scroll through that, because honestly, for myself, this might have been the most important part of the reading. And I know they are for the collective, and so sometimes people miss them or skip them because it's like, I want something more specific for me, right? But this is a little bit of a different type of message when we work with the oracle cards versus tarot. So, and if anything, this is impacting us as a collective at large. And then I would say when it comes to you personally, then there are so many other things apart from your Sun, Moon, or Rising sign that is impacting, that matters on how this eclipse impacts you. For example, for me, it matters really like a lot because my North Node is in Pisces. And right now, North Node is in Pisces, again, as a transit that we're experiencing, all of us as a collective. So for me, it definitely resonates with that particular placement, right? It hits it directly. Even with the degrees, it's very close, right? So it's kind of hinting at me, it's kind of like nodding at my karmic path, my mission and purpose, you know, pushing me towards those kind of questions and towards taking action, towards taking action towards what I'm meant here to do. All right, with all that said, let's get started. So 3 oracle cards. The first one is Into the Unknown. Look at that. What else could we got with such a powerful planetary transit? I would say immediately what I'm getting with this is that all of us are a lot more powerful than we care to admit or care to believe. And, you know, for most people, like the vast majority of their talent, of their giftings, of even their lineage that they've inherited from their family line, stays unknown, stays in the unknown, right? And the eclipse, especially the full moon, because it is this illumination. And if you think about it, the eclipse is when it is exaggerated even more. Because imagine that there is this bright full moon, and this is a super moon, so it's super bright, it's illuminated everything around on Earth, right? Like this bright projector light. And then suddenly full eclipse hits, and well, I mean, it goes gradually, right? But at some point, it covers it completely and it becomes so dark for a while, for a few hours, until it goes away, and then we get the full moon again, super bright, super illuminated. And that big contrast, it exaggerates the power of this energy, where we are seeing things that otherwise would be unknown to us. So what remains unknown to you? You can find out, right? You can start asking those questions. And I bet that if you think about it at least a little bit, you'll immediately think of something specific that you know there's more there. You just need to dig deeper. You need to be maybe a little more patient. Maybe you should have that conversation with your ancestors, right? And that power, I mean, again, honestly, we do perceive certain events in our lives as positive or negative, right? The same with skills and with what we inherit from our ancestry line, right? But it's all information, and if anything, it's all power, right? It's like how you use it then. And so when I'm talking about gifts and talents, it makes a lot of sense, right? But it's just as important to know what was the trauma, what were the insecurities in the ancestry line, because that is something that you've also inherited. But not to just dismiss it, not to push it aside, but look at it closer, because those are the themes, the patterns, the topics that you can become a specialist in. And you know, it can become your superpower, really. Not only will you help yourself heal, you will help your lineage, and if you decide to share with the collective, it will help a lot more people. The second card is the Talisman, number 49. In this deck, this card basically reminds us that we are being guided at all times. It's never that you're left on your own. It's never that your higher power wants to punish you for something. We are being helped, we are being guided. But again, it's about how you read those signs, how you work with synchronicities. What do you take from certain events that happen to you, right? This is about interpretation. It's about curiosity, maybe doing a little bit of research, right? It's like, if, just giving a more straightforward example, if you have some kind of physical pain in your body, right? Looking into it more from a somatic perspective. What is my body signaling me? What can I know about it? Why is it coming up now? Where did I create that tension, that resistance, denial, whatever that is? Maybe it brought up some kind of old wound that I thought was long gone, but here it is again, you know? So you can meet yourself there and give yourself more support, or ask your higher power for that support, whatever that is for you. The third card kind of fell out for me, so I'm just gonna take it. And this is number 21, Field of Dreams. This is, in my opinion, one of the best cards in this deck. And if you know the deck, I'm sure you can agree with that. If you don't, you'll just have to trust me on that. But this is such a great combination of the power of nature and forest creatures with this aspect of fertility, right? The Easter eggs, the whole divine resurrection topic, right? And the Field of Dreams is kind of like where, to me, especially when I'm looking at this picture, it speaks of possibility for everyone to get along, for everything to make sense, right? It's not like, and everything that happens in our lives makes sense. We're starting to see that, right? Like, giving you right now an example more of on a global scale, right? There are so many natural disasters happening these days. There's so many wars, so many conflicts of different kind, right? And there are so many people who don't understand it, right? Or it doesn't fit into their worldview, right? And they kind of like chop it away, right? Like, this is my belief system and those things are kind of somewhere here. But it's an, you know, a crucial part of the worldview. It cannot be just chopped off and we can pretend that that doesn't happen, or it doesn't really mean anything. And it doesn't even matter at the end of the day whether we actually in the middle of it, or it happens on the other side of the world. It impacts us as a collective, and it has a meaning. Whatever happens in nature has a meaning. Any man-made catastrophes have a meaning. Any kind of elections, big economical decisions have a meaning. And they do change us, you know, even if by a little bit. But then if you think how many of these events happen pretty much on a daily basis, right? It's huge. And that's what creates our reality, our collective energy, and our mindset of how we perceive the world. Okay, with all that said, let's go with the tarot. If you see a little bit of a dog over here, it's a dog. She's my animal spirit for today, and she's very excited about going for a walk very soon after we're done with the reading. So yeah, she might show up in the shot. Calm down, calm down, calm down. No, 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 no. Calm down, calm down, calm down, calm down. Okay, so we're gonna start, because this eclipse is in Pisces. We're gonna start with Pisces, and then we're gonna go through the entire zodiacal cycle. And we're using a new deck for that. Well, it's not exactly new, but let's say it's new for me. So I'm very excited what this message is gonna be. And the first message is for Pisces. Sun, Moon, and Rising. What does Pisces need to know during this lunar eclipse? You have the Four of Swords, the Queen of Wands, and the Sun. Look at it, beautiful. Yeah, so there's definitely a new beginning for you here somewhere on the horizon. And this beginning is going to be connected with you following your passion, following what has been kind of close to the surface, but maybe you haven't really given it much energy, much of your time, or any other resources that may be needed for it. And you know, it could be for different reasons, not necessarily that you didn't want to, but you know, life gets in the way, and then there's always something that has higher priority. And now you're asked to give yourself a little bit of space and time to, I don't even want to say to think about it, although swords are actually about thinking, thought process, 4D dimension. But I would say try to go into your intuitive self, right? And dig it out of there. See what comes out for you. Why do you want to do this specific thing? How do you want to do it? And of course, if you don't have anything specific on your mind right now, then you can do it more in a brainstorming or automated writing level, and brainstorm some ideas for yourself. What is it that your soul is looking for? How it wants to speak, how it wants to apply yourself in this reality at this time, right? It's very important to respond to that call, because it brings out the beauty and the wisdom in you. It also allows you to access a different level of joy and happiness from everything that you do in life, from even just being with people, with your loved ones, whoever that is for you, right? Like it may seem insignificant or even time consuming, right? It's like, doesn't really make sense to do it, but it will be special, I promise you. Okay, next we're gonna go to Aries. What does Aries need to know during this lunar eclipse? Okay, this card wanted to come out. Prince of Swords. So Prince is a knight in this deck, clarified by Ace of Swords, another sword, and Ace of Cups. I love it. Again, new beginnings. Ace of Swords, Ace of Cups. Some kind of a truth comes out to you about love, about how you show up in love, and also about feelings of somebody else I'm getting for you here, Aries. right? Like you will get some kind of communication on what the other person is feeling. And it doesn't, by the way, it doesn't have to be your present relationship. It might be that, you know, some kind of relationship ended under strange circumstances in the past, or somehow there was lack of closure in that past situation, right? And maybe it's been years even, and this person suddenly sends you a message, or you read something on their social media and it finally makes sense to you of why there was a problem then, right? Why things ended the way they did. So there is some kind of important clue that gets unlocked, that you get an insight of, because it will definitely have a connection with how you are in relationships, in love, right? It doesn't have to be just romantic love, but general, right? More close relationships, trusted relationships. How do you show up, or how you used to show up? Maybe you'll say, okay, yeah, back then I definitely did da 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 da, or it was difficult for me to da 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 da, right? Maybe it's already changed, and this will be a confirmation of how far you've come, and that will be a proclamation of more love in your space, in your heart, and more love that you have to offer to loved ones. Or it's possible that you'll realize that you actually still do that stuff, right? Or don't do, whatever that is. And this will require you to express more love towards yourself in that particular context, right? Instead of judging it, instead of trying to dismiss it or feeling ashamed of it, right? What can I do with it in a loving way? How can I work with this? So, potential for new beginning in life, in love, provided that, and if you're already in a relationship, this could be a new phase of that relationship. It doesn't have to be a completely new person and relationship, but it's important that you will be able to access it once you're in a more of a truthful energy of where you are and what do you want from a relationship or from your partner. Then you'll be able to unlock that level. Okay, next we have Taurus. What does Taurus need to know about this lunar eclipse? Six of Cups, beautiful. Two of Pentacles. And Five of Wands. This is pretty classic actually for this card. So there's definitely some kind of a childhood dream that you want and you should give a try, that you want to come true, right? Something that at least started for you in the childhood. I'll give you a quick example of how much it doesn't have to be exactly the same thing. So I'll give you an example of one thing that did come true, another thing that didn't. I saw myself as a teacher ever since I was a very little girl, like tiny little. And I played teaching somebody, imaginary students, my toys, at some point other children. And it came true for me. I became a teacher by profession. I was in that space. I was working in that space for a while. And now I'm becoming a teacher in a different way, right? So that's something that came true for sure. Another example is I loved imitating cooking shows when I was a kid. Maybe a little bit older than when the teaching started, but still. We had a number of these shows where there's a host, they invite one of the celebrities and they cook something together and they show it to the audience, right? So they can then cook at home. And they tell different stories. I was doing all of that. I was cooking and imagining there's a camera. I was playing all of it out. None of that happened to me as an adult, right? But I'm seeing now how that idea of sharing my knowledge, maybe I'll do a cooking show at some point, who knows? I love cooking. I have great recipes to share. But the underlying energy of it was to to be on air, to be talking to people live, to be teaching them something, hands-on, practical, something that they can use, and sharing of my life experience more than anything else. And I started embracing it with these tarot channels that I've set up, and also with my podcast that I've had for a year. It definitely, but it was like, it's still kind of like in its stages where I'm figuring it out. I don't know what the eventual format is gonna be, right? But that's something that started in my childhood, right? And that I didn't necessarily pick up on. Maybe not even until this moment of how much it was connected. So Taurus, something like that, something that you love doing, playing as a child. Maybe you didn't get to play it, but you always wanted, or you were looking at your parents doing it and saying doing it. You know, do something, whatever they did, and think, wow, one day I want to be just like my mom, or, you know, I'd love to be doing that. That must be exciting. What was that? Go into those memories and find energy and space to give it a try. Maybe in a different form. Maybe it will be just for yourself for now, right? You don't even have to tell anybody you decided to do it. But don't get other people and their opinions and other responsibilities in your life stand in the way, right? This is your chance to unlock a new potential for yourself. And you know what? I gave you an example of a cooking show. That is very much up Taurus's alley. So maybe for some of you it is a cooking show, you know? Who knows? Okay. Let's see what Gemini needs to know for this lunar eclipse in Pisces. Okay, the first card is the High Priestess. Nice. Love it. Clarified by the dog fell asleep, luckily for me. Nine of Swords and Queen of Swords. Look at all the swords. You don't want to be too harsh either on yourself or somebody around you. And there is this conflicting energy where you're used to saying it like it is. You know, you're a Gemini, so not a big surprise. But at the same time, you're struggling because you don't know, maybe your words will ruin the relationship or ruin somebody's enthusiasm, or will turn you off from pursuing something important in your life that you think is important. But this is the main card, the High Priestess, and you're being asked to tune into your intuitive self so that you're not deciding this based on what you think or what you're afraid of, but you're deciding based on what the intuitive guidance is, right? What does your heart tell you? What feels right? Not necessarily good, not necessarily pleasant, what feels right. Because oftentimes truth is liberating. It may be like a, you know, like a bitter pill. For a moment, it will be pretty disgusting, right? If it's big, it might be hard to swallow. But then this will be a release, a remedy. This will allow for the energy to flow, at least between you and this other person, or between you and yourself even, if this is something that you need to say to yourself, right? So don't try to judge it. Allow it to come in and be spoken. And don't have too many expectations one way or the other. Just let it be. Let it flow. That's the ultimate High Priestess energy. Just be and know, right? That's the kind of the motto of High Priestess. You don't need to create a strategy. You don't need to overthink of, you know, what am I gonna be wearing? What kind of words I mean, you can think about the words, but don't make it the biggest deal in all of this, because it's not. Okay, that was Gemini. Now we're moving to Cancer. What does Cancer need to know during this lunar eclipse in Pisces? Three of Cups, Prince of Swords, this is Knight of Swords in the regular deck, and Rebirth. This is Judgment actually, because it's number 20. Okay. So, Three of Cups clarified by Prince of Swords and Rebirth. So for you, Cancer, it's important to connect with your people, right? It could be a party, of course, a celebration. It could be a hike in nature. It could be a retreat. I don't know. It could be visiting your family in your hometown, right? Whatever it is. And don't get hung up on the labels of like, this has to be your best friends or whoever you go out drinking with. No, it can look very different, but it's important to rejuvenate that kind of connection, that kind of fellowship, because that's when you can co-regulate with other people and you all lift each other up. And it just, it has a ripple effect, first of all, that you're, bettering and improving and supporting their energy, their environment. So of course it comes back to you all, tenfold. But most importantly, they help you regulate your nervous system and face certain things or say out loud certain things that you wouldn't do otherwise. So hopefully you're getting an idea of what kind of people I'm talking about. Somebody whose presence you can be authentic and you can speak your truth even if it's very uncomfortable. You can speak of your feelings even if they seem impermissible. And what it unlocks then is, first of all, your ability to express yourself. And I'm not saying that you'll say exactly the same thing to everyone now, but you'll be a lot more comfortable translating what you feel and think into words and actions that align with it the most, right? And also it gives you more and more connection to who you really are, what your purpose here is, and how can you implement it from where you are right now. Where do you even get started? What is the next step if you're well on your way, right? So a lot of information is coming in, but you need that connection with your people, with your friends, with kindred spirits to activate it and be able to access it. Okay, that was Cancer. Next we go to Leo. What does Leo need to know during this eclipse? Okay, got something. The High Priestess again, wow. You can watch Gemini's reading as well because they had High Priestess and I bet there is a connection there. Clarified by Queen of Swords, had that too, by the way, in the same reading, and the King of Pentacles. But I do shuffle between every read, so it had to happen this way. King of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, very interesting. They're not exactly a couple, although this is a masculine and a feminine collaboration. What I would say, because the High Priestess is your main card, is it's important to intuitively guide yourself into how you approach current situation at hand or your life in general, right? And especially when it comes to feminine and masculine energy, right? By the way, we have King of Pentacles, which is masculine energy in a feminine suit, because Pentacles is feminine energy, it's earth. And we have feminine energy in the masculine suit, because swords are air and that's masculine element. So it's all reminding us about this alchemy and that there is no right or wrong answer, and there's no one way to do things, right? Of course, to a lot of us it seems that way because of the way we've been brought up, certain kind of social conditioning, certain kind of habits that were built based on our previous experience. But it doesn't mean that it's limited there. And High Priestess is definitely limitless vision, right? It's the Piscean energy, by the way, which is the sign where the moon is right now, where this eclipse is, right? It's boundless. It's connected to the outer space, right? Where there is no right or wrong. And there is no container. There are no borders. It's limitless. It's boundless, right? And sometimes, yeah, it's on a certain level, it's somewhat chaotic and could be difficult to interpret, and our brain is not really used to that. We like specific answers, we like closures, we like completed pictures. But that's where the challenge is, but that's also where expansion is, where you're seeing beyond your usual paradigms. specifically for you around masculine, feminine. It could be around social roles connected with that, could be around relationships and how you perceive men are da-da-da-da, women are da-da-da-da, and it could be even reverse because it's more about energy than the gender, right? So whatever that is, of course, it could be connected to your parents, but could be connected to anything else. You are being given certain experiences in your life right now that allow you to step outside of that box, perceive things on a different level, but you need to be mentally ready for that. You need to remind yourself that you don't know all the answers and not all people are the same, right? And be ready to surprise yourself and even express the desire to be surprised. By the way, fun fact of the day, that the feeling of joy and happiness is directly connected with the emotion of being surprised. Just something little to think about. Okay, that was Cancer. Next we move to Leo. Ooh. Was it Cancer? Yes, I think so. One time I did one of these readings and I did 2 messages for the same sign. But you know, when I was doing my timestamps, of course, I figured it out. But I was like, okay, this is gonna be message number 1 and message number 2, both for Leo. Okay, Leo, so your first card is Prince of Wands. This is Knight of Wands. This is your, not your energy, your element. Then we have 10 of Cups, beautiful. And Princess of Pentacles, which is Page of Pentacles. So, a new person could actually be coming into your life, and they will surprise you with gentleness, maybe with certain simplicity that they approach life. Meaning, it's not a negative comment, you know, not in that connotation, meaning that they don't need a lot to be happy in life. That's what I'm getting here, right? They have their virtues, their values, things they're working on, but it's not overly ambitious. It's more like, I enjoy, you know, specific moments of my day. I am living in the now, you know, I'm grateful for what I have, those kind of things. And it will give you more inspiration. And it's surprising, but it will give you inspiration to move forward with your dreams, with your goals, and with your ambitions. Why? Because it will take the pressure off to a certain degree, that you don't need to reach a certain level to be able to do what you want to do, or to be a specific way, right? Maybe you have some role models that are really powerful and encourage you to go that way. But this example is this person, and the way that they find their emotional fulfillment and their happiness will remind you that it's simpler than that, right? And it will create that almost like permission slip for you to step into your dream, into your desires, and act towards them, towards your emotional fulfillment, towards your 10 of Cups. Okay, that was for Leo. Next we go to Virgo. What does Virgo need to know? During this lunar eclipse in Pisces. How many signs do we have? We have Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Aquarius. Okay. 6 of Wands, your first card, victory card. Always good one to have, right? Then you have the, wow, this is interesting. Number 14, so it says Temperance. But the word here is different, Emerald. I don't even know what that means, the Emerald. I'll need to check the handwriting, because it's a Druid deck, so they, you know, the font that they use is the artsy font. And then you have the Tower as well. Wow. 2 major arcanas, but you have 6 of Wands. So it's like, as long as you're staying in a balanced state, as long as you're able to equalize a little more your highs and your lows, you'll be victorious. And whatever this is, whatever storms are coming your way, you'll be able to get through it, right? And then not to only to get through it, but actually get something beautiful out of it. Right? But it's important to be able to alchemize any kind of distortions, any kind of emotional disbalances, right? Whether it's depression or anger or guilt and shame, right? It's important, or even euphoria and happiness. It's important to sort of like be able to ground yourself pretty quickly. So maybe check out, I mean, Virgos usually are pretty good at having grounded energy, but also, you know, it's a certain rigidness that exists in Virgo space, and things are supposed to be a certain way, and then when they're not, then it can create a lot of anxiety and overwhelm. And I'm not saying it's just for Virgos, I'm just saying that, you know, we all have it, but with Virgos, that's the more of a context of how it can come up. So please, please, please look into the tools to ground yourself and balance yourself and be able to detach from the emotional side of the situation. That's the best way for you to learn lessons. I'm not saying pretend like it didn't happen, but I'm just saying when you detach, then you can investigate, then you can explore, what does it really mean? Why is this happening right now? What is the message from my higher power towards me with this? And that's where you'll find that new information that will unlock new victories in your life. All right, that was Virgo. Now we have Libra. What does Libra need to know during this lunar eclipse in Pisces? The world. Clarified by Nine of Cups and King of Cups. Wow. Do you want to see the world? Or is somebody the center of your universe? Wow, several scenarios here. For some of you, you want to see the world, but you're always putting that off. Somehow something comes up, and you essentially you're telling the universe that you don't respect your wishes and desires. And that's a very low vibe message, you know, and to yourself, of course, because in the subconscious level, your subconsciousness is perceiving this as kind of like, okay, my needs don't really matter. There's always something else that's more important in life to deal with. For others, if somebody else is the center of your universe, you're having trouble understanding why or expressing that to them, you know, in a healthy way. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that, you know, all is good in moderation, I would say. And any energies, including the world, can go overboard or, you know, can get carried away. So with that, also don't forget about your own wants and needs and dreams, right? The Nine of Cups is wish come true. What are your wishes? Are you making them come true? Or are you solely focusing on that other person and what they want and what makes them happy, right? It's all about having that balance. Because the more you're pouring into other person, the more of a codependent and even trauma bonding connection it becomes, with so many risks and dangers that that could be like another hour just talking about that. So don't forget about yourself. Treat yourself to something nice. That's what I'm hearing for you, Libra. For Scorpio, we have the Hermit as the main card, clarified by Two of Swords and the Star. Beautiful. Love it. Love it. I mean, the Star and the Hermit are both about healing. It's a little bit different healing, but largely the nature of it is the same. And you are healing more than anything your ability to be more decisive and not to overthink because of your previous experiences. And I don't even just mean that something went badly and now you don't want that to repeat. That, of course, is a classic example. But even if, you know, something worked out a very different way, right? And now you're like, okay, well, I saw that was the case. Why would it be any different right now? You know, I saw how people with this and this characteristics and qualifications never got this kind of job and never were able to start this profession. Why would it be any different for me? Right? Something like that. Or the other way around, right? Like people who know this, they do well with this. Why would it be any different for me? But we are all different, right? And this is about healing some kind of a deeper patterns of how life is. You know, like sometimes this is just how life is. You know, or like life is unfair, or you know, people who are alphas, they get on with life, right? Even if they are not the most deserving of that something, right? Like there are all these phrases, but it's important to free yourself from that kind of thinking, because that's what keeps you trapped a lot of times and stops you from stepping more fully into who you are, into what you want to create in this life. Please don't stop yourself on the way to greatness. Okay, that was Scorpio. And now we go to Saggy. What does Sagittarius need to know during this lunar eclipse? Four of Cups, clarified by Prince of Swords, this is Knight of Swords in the regular deck, and Princess of Pentacles, which is Page of Pentacles in the regular deck. Also, I'm shuffling all the cards, and I had this combination, at least these two cards, in another reading. So that just, to me, it just proves how the collective energy manifests itself. Definitely in more than one sign. And no, I do not remember which time was that, so you'll just have to watch the others and find out. But the main card here is Four of Cups. Four of Cups sometimes is discouragement because of either some kind of unrequited love kind of situation, or just because not much is going on the surface, right? And thinking that, you know, this dream or this goal that I picked for myself, it's just not gonna work out because I haven't seen much happening, right? And that's again how our brain judges the situation. But then you have these things here. So you are gonna receive a message. There will be some kind of payout or some kind of token of kindness towards you that will show you that, you know, what you have on your mind is actually very worthy, and this is exactly what you should be focusing on. And maybe the problem is actually that you haven't put enough energy in it, and that's why the energy became stale and you got bored, right? Sometimes the universe gives us those tests to see how serious we are about our dream, and sometimes it just prompts you to learn more, to close the gap, so then you can take a leap to the next level. So look again, think again, pay attention to that message, and don't just take it as if kind of like, oh, thank you very much, and then move on with your day. Know that there is a deeper meaning there, and see what does it actually tell you. What is it encouraging you to do, where maybe you've given up before. All right, next we have Capricorn. What does Capricorn need to know during this eclipse? And then we'll have Aquarius, and that will be it. So for Capricorn, we have a death. This is Scorpio energy. Wow. Big cards, big cards. Eight of Swords. And Six of Swords. Look at the swords. Wow. So what I would say to you is there's a lot, well, obviously a lot that's changing, but I would say don't put too much into thinking, oh my, I've got death, this is so bad. Because yes, death could mean certain endings in your life of certain habits, certain addictions, maybe certain relationships, right? Certain phases of your life. But even with that, it means rebirth, or, you know, the birth of something else. And more than anything, eclipses generally have this kind of transformational energy behind them. So this is more of a confirmation and expected behavior than anything else. But what I like was this, I mean, this is also a little controversial because Eight of Swords about self-sabotaging. It's about not seeing your worth, downplaying what's happening, right? Six of Swords, though, is this kind of like reaching the harbor, reaching your destination card. It's also about finding peace. And what I'm seeing here is that it's all in your hands. And it's up to you to deduce something useful from this death experience, whatever that is for you. Learning the lessons, right? Even if you can't see it in the moment of transformation, look at it afterwards, after the chaos, after the climax. Look at it, see what happened. Try to understand it, not from an Eight of Swords energy where you're self-sabotaging and blaming yourself, but from the Six of Swords energy, where you're seeing how can I achieve peace in this new space? Or what was wrong with where I was before, right? Like what was missing? How did this transformation move me to where I'm supposed to be, to seeing better what matters in general and what matters to me specifically and what matters to other people in my life, right? Like ask those questions, don't be afraid to do that, because that's where the truth is. And if you have a chance, if you have your meditation practice or other mindfulness practices, please use them for this. And this will help you get information from the subconscious and also from your heart space, rather than just whatever your brain is gonna manufacture as a response to your question. Because that could create even more of those karmic cycles of Eight of Swords kind of vibe. Okay, last but not least is Aquarius. What does Aquarius need to know during this lunar eclipse? Princess of Cups. This is Page of Cups in the regular deck. Clarified by Strengths. And Five of Wands. Wow. Yeah, there's a lot at stake for you right now. And the Strengths card is kind of like highlighting of how much of the energy, of the resources you have, how much of stamina you have as well, the vision, everything to be the leader. But it's like, how are you going to implement it? Are you going to use your power for good or for evil? Are you going to encourage confrontation, competition, or showing off in front of people? Or are you going to treat it with, or use this for something kind and compassionate, where you have the strength and the courage to express yourself, what you really care about, how you want to support your community locally, globally, on any level, right? We always have those choices. Even when we have a lot of resources, how do we distribute them? To show our own status and show off for the crowd? Or do we invest in something that will be beneficial for people around and maybe even for generations to come? Aquarius have this innate quality of creating legacy, of breaking templates, right? Of being trailblazers. So don't let the naysayers, people who are creating noise, who are distracting you from your bigger purpose, to continue doing that. Show the bravery and the strength to choose what is really important to you. And remind yourself from time to time why. Okay, that was a message for Aquarius, and these were the messages for all the signs. I hope this was useful to you guys. Please don't forget to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you're new. Please give me comments on what resonated, how you enjoyed it. And of course, until next time, bye.